La educación superior tiene que ser pública, la universidad tiene que ser pública porque nosotros entendemos que la educación superior juega un papel estratégico en la construcción de una sociedad democrática.
Education is the only way in and through which some kind of equality can be achieved through the democratization of learning.
If you are dependent on the private providers who actually fund your system, you will also be governed by some private interest. Higher education as such should be independent, should be able to be critical both to the institution but also to the established political correctness and the established truth.
Every single child in the public schools has to have access to higher education. That can be a trade school, it can be a community college where you learn a job skill, it could be a university, but it has to be something beyond a primary and a secondary education. So for us, it's a pipeline. It's a pipeline from preschool to graduate school. It's a public investment, and the public benefits when all the children are prepared to be the adults that are going to take their places in society.
Each country has a different set of circumstances, but we all face pretty common problems. Inadequate funding levels, either direct or indirect threats to academic freedom and institutional autonomy, whether it be in rich or developing countries, threats to the rights of academic staff to organise in trade unions. So by first focusing on the power of our members in our national unions, we can build power to try and deal with these problems.
EI has been able to make things move in the international community. We do see that, first of all, education has been propelled to the top of the international agenda. That's for one. That's very important. And that also many governments acknowledge the important role they should play in developing education strategies and education policy. We have not yet been able to persuade them that they should also be the ones that should finance our education system.
In the United Kingdom, over the past 2 years, we have seen massive cuts in funding for higher education, and we have moved the payment for tuition from the state to the student, so the burden is on the student to pay for their education. So there has been an 80% cut to the teaching budget, and most of that has been in arts, humanities and sciences, added to which the government is trying to make our employment laws worse. It is much harder, it will be much harder and more expensive to take your employer to a tribunal for unfair treatment.
En derechos laborales también han hecho un recorte terrible. Hemos vuelto a situaciones predemocráticas y a través de esos decretos ley, reales decretos ley, se han cargado gran parte de la negociación colectiva, puesto que han desarticulado la capacidad que tenían los convenios de ámbito nacional de ser una garantía para todos los trabajadores. Y estamos plenamente convencidos de que la única manera de salir de la crisis es mediante incremento de las partidas de educación.
In order to ensure high quality education, you have to invest in teachers, you have to invest in lecturers, you have to invest in the training of teachers and lecturers.
Nos queda una gran pelea, que tengamos la libertad a crear sindicatos, a pasar pliegos de peticiones, a hacer huelga porque no nos pagan a tiempo o no son buenas las condiciones laborales, a definir los estatutos de nuestros sindicatos, a definir nuestras reglas de juego. Eso es libertad sindical.
I think one of the most important things that we need to do at this stage is actually to be thinking about the issues in organising which are really relevant across countries. And one of those, from my experience, is around organising women. and organising women in trade unions, and so removing the barriers to women getting involved in trade unions, which are often to do with the sexism of the men, but also the ways unions are organised. Women remain responsible for the children and can't get to meetings. Women say that they can't get more involved because of all of those sorts of restrictions and their other duties as well as their work. At the level of the university, where we have a president of the university branch of the union, most of them are men. Then we look at the secretary job, the one who takes the minutes and does the traditional female work, most of them are women. When the union does things for women and in organising women, more women join. So our argument is if you want your union to get stronger, you appeal to the women and show that you work for women.
Quality education for us is something that will really link up the kind of work that we do, the professional work that we do, and the lessons that we teach to our students. I was interviewed by my senior colleagues. They're asking me, what kind of hat do you wear when you talk to your students? Is it the hat of an academic or your hat as an activist? Some of us actually get penalized for this kind of politics, especially when you don't have an empowered junior faculty that are quite vocal enough to address such issues.
If we want to forge ahead and be able to push the agenda for quality higher education the world over, and to be specific in Ghana, it means trade unions must be strong enough and must have a strong voice to be able to push that agenda forward. Then we need to explore further to make sure that we move away a little from the traditional trade union practices and bring in new ideas that will attract a lot of people who are sitting on the fence to be part of the unions. Another area that we can look at is to promote cooperation and solidarity among unions within the EI and even those outside the EI as of now. If you're able to bring them on board, let's network and link up with them.
And a key definer of the quality of universities, in my view, is the extent to which their scientific, economic, social science, education and other research and teaching programs are relevant and accessible to the populations of the countries.
In Jamaica, for example, and maybe a lot as it relates to the rest of the Caribbean, I know Trinidad and Tobago, for example, they have signed on to the GATS. And in Jamaica, we have not just signed on for higher education, but primary, secondary, and tertiary, which is what we call higher education. And so we found that there was an open door, and a number of institutions from all over the world came in trying to sell their product in terms of education.
Mais je pense que les étudiants ont, en tout cas, une grande partie d'entre eux, un grand mouvement d'entre eux ont compris que au-delà de la lutte contre la hausse des frais de scolarité, il y avait une lutte contre cette idée néolibérale que désormais les services publics, plutôt que d'être financés à partir de l'impôt progressif sur le revenu, pourraient être financés par une tarification ou des taxes régressives. Et ça, en ce sens-là, leur lutte est importante, pas juste pour l'éducación superior ou l'éducación general, c'est important pour l'ensemble des services publics.
La más importante cosa a hacer es trabajar para que los presupuestos públicos sean dirigidos a las universidades públicas y con esto se puede aumentar bastante el número de matrículas en el sector público.
Las universidades son frecuentemente los lugares donde el cambio parece ser más difícil porque son espacios fuertemente transnacionalizados por su propia dinámica académica, también porque son objeto de una fuerte ofensiva mercantilizadora.
En Brasil hoy, aunque todo este trabajo, toda esta inversión, 2/3 de las matrículas son en el sector privado.
El sistema de educación superior tiene que ser vinculado claramente con el sistema de producción científica y tecnológica y con el resto del sistema educativo y por lo tanto, digamos, esas capacidades tienen que ser desarrolladas con criterio público, tienen que ser orientadas a la resolución de los problemas de las mayorías.
as a union, we are working very hardly to improve the conditions of the employees inside the universities, and we have achieved many goals in this aspect and this way. And the last one was, which is very important for us, the retirement salary, which have been accepted by the Palestinian government, and the employees now they have social security for their life and for their when become very old, and also the health insurance after they finish their teaching in the universities and going to the retirement age. Then also they have health insurance from the Palestinian government. To effectively defend the interests of your members, to effectively defend the interests of your sector, you have to become engaged in international advocacy.
Defend jobs, defend education. Because if you have not got jobs, if you have not got people to teach, you have not got any education.